Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining this session. I am so excited for this. We are going to be diving into all things ecosystem and ecosystem growth today. And we've got a range of topics that we're hoping to touch on during this conversation. We're going to be talking about why companies who prioritize their ecosystem strategy are better positioned for customer success. We're going to be speaking to internal alignment and how important it is to have cross-functional alignment with your teams for ecosystem strategy. We're going to be getting into what leaders in this space are doing and what they're doing really well, and some of the challenges that we see when you're really prioritizing an ecosystem strategy and selling with and through partners. My name is Kate Kwiatkowski. I am head of partner ecosystem for Tackle. I have a pretty long background in partnerships. I come from AWS and time at IBM, and I have been very passionate about this space for a long time. I was at the early stages of the AWS Partner Network and launched the APN blog and was immersed in partner stories and developing business development content with partners, and was consistently blown away by the power of the Better Together story throughout the entire customer lifecycle. So this is a true passion of mine. I'm thrilled to host this panel with these amazing panelists. I'm going to give each a chance to introduce themselves as well. Amy, let's kick off with you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today, Kate. This is really fun. So I'm dialing in from Ohio. I'm the Vice President of ISP Sales at Salesforce. I've been with the company 18 years, and so a little over, actually 18 and a half probably now. And really how I got initially involved with partners is the fact that I was in direct sales when we launched the App Exchange back in 2006. And back then we had a fairly immature product. 6 years old or 7 years old in market. And so we really needed partners to extend our platform to create value for our customers. So I, as a salesperson, understood the value that we were delivering customers with our partners. And then I got involved with alliances when I moved here to Ohio. And then I was really involved from the ground floor of evolving our program to what it is today. So suffice to say, it's now 14 years in this group and around partners. And I enjoy it, love it, and I'm excited to be here.
Okay. I'm so excited to have you here. Cassandra.
Yes. Hi, I'm Cassandra Golston, and I'm the CEO and founder of PartnerTAP. And, I've been involved with partners since the dawn of time in my career. I was always in software sales leadership, and one of those people that always leveraged partners. And that was honestly the genesis of PartnerTAP. One day I looked on the Salesforce App Exchange, like every great sales leader, and said, there must be an application that connects me to my ecosystem and shows me where I can go and double down with my partners, opportunities that I'm not in, that I should be in, and couldn't find anything. And that was the launch of partnerships, or for PartnerTAP. So thanks for having me, Kate, and appreciate your partnership as well with Tackle.
Oh, absolutely. And we're just getting started, and I am thrilled to get your perspective on this topic, particularly given where you're focused. Christine.
Hi, I'm Christine Stewart. My company's called the Lexington Group, and it's a consultancy. I have been involved in IT companies in a variety of roles that kind of surrounded partners at all times. I served about 13 years at Cisco Systems in everything from running their global alliances to, at one point, running one of their large international sales theaters, which was completely partner-led. So I had the viewpoint there of kind of a bird's eye view of product marketing all the way down to delivering in our partner-led strategies, to really then leave that, get a chance to get into consulting and spend some time with another consultancy. But now I do a lot of work around ecosystem and partner strategy, deliverables, thought leadership content, you name it, a lot of enablement development and such. And sometimes I perform fractional roles as well. So excited to be with this great group. Thank you so much, Kate, and to Tackle for inviting me.
Yes, thank you for joining. And Christine, I know I've so enjoyed talking to you, and love our shared love of cats as well. So that's one of those things immediately. I was like, I want to be her friend. So let's dive right in. And Christine, I'm actually going to start with you. Why are companies who prioritize their ecosystem strategy better positioned to drive customer success? What have you seen and experienced in your past experiences, and what you see today with the companies that you work with and talk to?
I think it goes back to that old adage of controlling your own destiny, right? So if you look at it, we're in a world now where customers really are expecting that we deliver on very specific requirements, right? We've set them up to believe that, and that's the way it's working out now. I think we as vendors, and I see that when I was at Cisco, and I see that at the various companies that I work with, we're kind of looking at a customer journey now that some of it's out of our control, right? A great deal of investigation into solutions is done at the place where our partnerships are, our community partners, our tech partners, our go-to-market, our influencers, all those service partners. So, it's important for us to develop that relationship early on, and the people that are successful are doing that, right? So a lot of people think that customer experience starts after the landing of the transaction, and it doesn't. It starts at the very beginning. The first time that they see our brand, they're getting our brand experience and what they feel from us. So whether it's a marketing or a sales campaign, whether it's, one of our people talking out in a technology watering hole, whether it's a demo, any of those times, they are getting some impression of our brand, and that's being delivered through those partners. So we have to think about it carefully. I think that the successful companies in this are orchestrating around very specific, customer journeys, and they understand all those touch points and where those ecosystem partners, fit there, and they've established all the methodologies to deal with that. And when it's done well, they're delivering a great, customer experience, and just as importantly, they're delivering a great partner experience too. So I think that's what we're seeing with successful companies.
Yeah, absolutely. And Amy, I'd be keen to get your perspective on this as well. Particularly given too, Salesforce is such a critical piece of so many companies' journeys, and you've built this incredible ecosystem that really touches every point of the customer and facet of the customer journey. How are you seeing your partners drive customer success, and what's your perspective on the focus for ecosystem-led success?
Yeah, when I mentioned the fact that back in the day when we launched the App Exchange, it really was because we were competing with giant on-premise CRM solutions that had been developed over many years. And so I really think the company thought, hey, let's innovate quickly. Let's bring the best of breed technologies to our customers as quickly as possible. And the way to do that is to open up our APIs and have partners come and take what they know and marry it with what we do, and let the customers decide. So ultimately, I think the reason why our App Exchange has been so wildly successful, and why most of our customers use apps from the App Exchange, is because it does really allow them to choose how they're going to complete their business process. It's not up to us every time. It's up to them and the partners that they choose to work with, because we are good at things. Definitely. Salesforce is great at a lot of things, but so are our partners. And so we are really better together. And I think that has been a huge differentiator for us as a company in the market. So I think that's why it's just continued to be a really interesting place to be, and something that's a huge part of our value to our customers.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that focus on, what are your core competencies, and then how can you complement that with the core competencies of your partners? And I think that's something that Salesforce has done a really good job of developing, and certainly for Tackle as well. As we focus on our partnership with Salesforce too, looking at how can we utilize everything that Salesforce does so well and marry that with what Tackle is doing to help extend and drive an even better customer experience and drive more growth for our customers.
Absolutely.
We had a great question come in already through the chat that I just wanted to call out here, and whoever wants to take it, please do. It's a great question because ecosystem is very broad. And so for anyone who's joining us today, before we get into even more specifics around what successful companies are doing, what are some initial thoughts you guys have around starting to build an ecosystem strategy? Where personally have you started in the past? What are some of the key tips that you would give companies that might be joining us or attendees today that are just getting started with focusing on their ecosystem strategy?
I would say from the very beginning, if you don't have or you're not thinking about what ecosystem you fit into, what ecosystem your customers are going to fit into, you're not going to catch the force multiplier that ecosystems bring. We're an ISV company. We're 5 years old. We just hired a chief ecosystem officer. So this is what we preach. 2 years ago, I said, there's going to be a role. There will be a chief ecosystem officer. This person's going to have a seat at the table. They're going to report to the CEO, and they're going to drive strategy. They're going to be in board meetings. So we'll prove it out. But I think you see a company like Salesforce that created the App Exchange. And yeah, if you're an ISP and you're not creating your own ecosystem or your own App Exchange, your own marketplace, or thinking about that, you're losing out. So,
Christine, Amy, any other thoughts from you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say what I've seen with companies that that are starting is somebody's got to be appointed to have responsibility, right? Whether it's somebody currently in, they could, you could bring a lot of different skill sets to this, but if you have somebody currently in a partner role, sometimes it's product marketing role, it could even oftentimes come from customer success, whatever. It's got to be somebody who's given that charge, that's held accountable for it. They've got to be supported by upper management. They've got to be allowed to, set up a cross-organizational team and just get it started and start talking through everybody about what their roles are in there. Because, setting up an ecosystem strategy and all the partner, programs enablement that go behind it is a long process, right? So the sooner you get it going, the better. So it's good that people are asking this question, even if you can get a little bit started. Some of the bigger companies I've been associated with, they started it years ago and they're still, struggling with getting it right. So it's really get going. You may make some mistakes, but, get some support around you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, that touches on, Christine, something that you'd said, that it is an area that I've personally, in my experience, seen be so impactful, which is cross-functional alignment, right, for your partnership strategy and for what you're trying to build with ecosystem. I'll give a shout out for, our Tackle product team, for instance. We've done a lot of work just this year on coming together on what is our ecosystem strategy and how are we going to deliver that together, right? And so that's a really big, important piece of how we can drive success and how we can drive growth through our ecosystem, is having that alignment. Amy, what have you seen with some of the alignment between partnerships and different teams like product and engineering, administration, marketing, customer success, sales? What are some of the practices and how have you seen that alignment really drive growth and success for an ecosystem strategy?
I would say that that's probably one of the most interesting parts of this job, specifically at Salesforce, since we're so big now, is that we do really sit in the center of all of those pieces, because we have to have a seat or have people that have seats at the table for all those different areas of our business. So we understand product strategy. We are plugged into customer success, et cetera. So it's and even like our investment arm, because a lot of our partners are involved with that piece. So it is a really interesting place to be. And you do have to be plugged into all of those parts of the business in order to be making effective decisions. And I will say, full disclosure, our company grows so quickly and it's constantly changing, which is also why I've probably been able to stay at this company for 18 years, because it's always, every year it's different. And every 2 years I'm in a different role because we're evolving so quickly. But to bring it back to ecosystem building, I think you do have to be thinking about, you do have to have a seat at the table at the board level, to your point, Cassandra, because it should be integrated into your overall strategy. If it isn't, if it's a nice to have, it's not going to drive the value that you're seeking. So that's kind of my off the cuff thought.
Yeah. I love that. Christine, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and I'm sure we all actually on this call agree. It's absolutely foundational to me, right? And I've seen both sides, because you can have most killer product, the greatest marketing campaigns, wonderful sales offers and a sales team. But if you have people running their political agendas or, under-resourcing it or playing politics, because they think that they should own it when they don't, it'll kill all the great things that you're doing. So, I mean, I think that we've mentioned you've got to have that culture, you've got to have the executive buy-in, but then there's more than that. They have to hold people accountable, right? Because if people don't feel held accountable, they're not going to do it. And you've got to set up some KPIs, especially initially when you're first starting, that are actually doable, reachable, and that everybody across those organizations can align to, so that when they're setting in those meetings, they feel a responsibility to show up and show that they did their part that delivers on those KPIs. And they'll become easier and easier, as you have success and everybody celebrates those together. So that's big for me. And then I would just say you do need to have a cross-organizational structure. I've found that it works very well if you have somebody that owns it and then has dotted line reports in from each of those organizations that serve on that cross-organizational team with them. And then, bottom line, when you have people working together, all of those processes and workflows and the use of the tools and platforms that they get will be much easier because everybody will understand them and you won't get big roadblocks.
Yeah, amen. And I feel, something that Paul from Nasuni had said in his session that I really liked. He spoke to, got a little bit of background noise. I'm not sure where that, but he had said that partnerships should be owned by everyone, right? Like everyone owns partnerships in the sense of everyone should feel responsibility, should feel ownership for what partnerships can drive. And I really liked that because I feel like that's when you have a clear vision and you've got alignment across the teams for what the goal is for the growth that you can drive through your ecosystem, you're going to have a lot more incentive and motivation to work toward that. And to the point of metrics and kind of KPIs that you might want to track towards, Cass, I'm curious to get your perspective on executive alignment in particular. What are some of the key metrics and some of the best practices that you would recommend for companies that are really trying to get that executive buy-in for an ecosystem strategy? Because it's, there's a huge focus of this for this to be successful coming top down as well.
Right. I think what Christine said is, look, when you're putting a strategy in place, it does take time, but look, you want executive alignment, you have to get to revenue as quickly as possible. But this is why you need that seat at the table, because that's hard. But the faster you can show revenue, the more the executives, if you don't have that seat at the table, the more they're going to listen, right? So this is tricky, and this is why we're preaching you have that seat at the table so that the CEO can really understand the ecosystem and the programs and all that it takes to put this in place, and then the enablement. I mean, it's a lot, but you get it right, it is a huge force multiplier. I mean, you look at Salesforce.com. I mean, come on, it's like so. There we go.
But we still struggle with it. I mean, I'll say, when Christine, what you just said, the one word I would say is governance, right? Like, how do you manage this and manage different agendas to drive success with this? Because it does take a village. If engineering and product and customer success and everyone else isn't in the boat, it's really hard. So it is a challenge. And we use a methodology called the V2 MOM within our company that starts with Mark and moves through down to every individual contributor. And we kind of use that. So what we really want is our metrics to be somewhere in the executive V2 MOM, right? So that we can make sure that there's accountability all the way up. But however you do it, there has to be skin in the game across these different business units that have their own fish to fry, or else, it's really hard. And it doesn't get easier to get bigger, obviously. So
the higher level executive sponsorship you have, the better, right? I mean, so we're seeing companies where, those people that are responsible for this are not like necessarily down below the CRO or necessarily down below the channel chief. We see now chief ecosystem officers and chief partner officers reporting to the CEO, right? And when that happens, they've really got a leg up, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And, Christine, you've got this unique perspective because day in and day out, given what you're doing, you're speaking with partnership professionals and partner leaders focused on driving growth and customer success through their ecosystem strategy. What are some of the key behaviors and some of the key steps that individuals have taken that are really leading in this space? What are some of the best practices that you would recommend for folks to take away from companies that are growing really rapidly through their ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, and people probably guess when they are on events like this that we do see the questions that you might ask us in advance. And I have to say, this is one of my favorites because I've kind of developed a collection of things that I thought I was doing right or eventually did right after multiple failures, but things that I see in other people that I think like, that's why they're moving so quickly, right? So I've actually got them kind of written down here. They're very passionate for these jobs, okay? A lot of people say they're passionate. These people are evangelists. And you know it because they put it in their LinkedIn profiles, right? They put it right up there that they are focused in this space. You know, they typically, to get to these roles, they're excellent in influence, right? Because of what we just got done talking about how you have to work across all these multiple silos. And sometimes they don't have the resource and they're having to go to that VP of marketing or that VP of customers to the person who's running learning and development to get some resources for enablement that they need, right? So they're good collaborators in that space. They see the big picture, right? So they have the ability to see from, you know, the time that a product is just being developed over in a line of business and convincing those folks to be, you know, developing their products with not only tech partners in mind, but with service partners in mind so that they leave insertion points in those products and solutions where one of your partners can deliver their services within that in advance, and they're going to know that that's coming. I always say that they treat their partner organization, their partners, like an extended team, like their own team, meaning that they, you know, understand their business models, they understand their profitability, they understand what makes them tick. And not only that, those partners know that they know that. So they have a lot of respect for somebody leading this that appreciates and understands their business and designs programs and specifically incentives to deliver on that. And then the last one I would say is they're innovative, right? Because we're in an innovative space. I came across a small SaaS company. They're actually out of Israel. And they've developed their own customer success as a service, professional service that they provide to their partners because they know most of their partners can't afford to resource somebody in customer success. So they help them do that. And their application actually has trigger points for opportunities for services sell, for co-sell, for upsell, things like that. So I think that's just kind of at least my personal list of people that are good at this.
Yeah, I love that perspective. And of course, you also know I'm going to ask you on the opposite side of that. What are some of the practices or some of the steps you've seen that are kind of missteps in this space or that have caused friction or caused challenges for companies to really lean in and grow through their ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the easy answer to that is that it's almost the opposite, right, of some of those things I described. So, you know, they don't have a laser focus. Sometimes it's somebody that's doing that job halfway because they got another job. Or sometimes they haven't got that full buy-in and commitment, which we all are in agreement. You're just not going to be successful. You know, starting and stopping initiatives is the worst thing you can do because you get a partner believing in some kind of a program or some kind of enablement, whatever it might be, and then you under-resource it or completely take the money away from it. Well, if we're all about building trust with these partners, there goes the trust, right? When you have people playing out of position and, you know, first we always point to the poor sales organization and say, hey, you're not following the rules of engagement. You know, you went off and, you know, bid a deal direct that we were already working with a partner on, but you can have people playing out of position in other organizations as well. And then a big one I think is unrealistic KPIs, because if you set ones that are just not achievable, then when they're not achieved, your executive team is looking at you like, what the heck? And you've got this team feeling defeated before they even got the darn thing going, right? So set realistic numbers, and then be patient and give it a realistic amount of time to be successful. Don't take on too many partners. Pick a few partners and get successful with them. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of the takes a village kind of concept. You really need everybody kind of collaborating well together on this, or it's not going to work out.
I love all of that. And specifically what you called out around patience and the notion of pick a few partners, right? I think a lot of folks fall into the trap, and I've been guilty of this in the past as well, where you want to build your partner ecosystem and you want to add as many partners as you can. And that's a metric that you're tracking to. How many partners do you get to sign up, for instance, for your program? And it's not about that, right? It's really about, to your point, also about understanding the business model and understanding what your partner needs to grow and how you truly complement one another, and the ultimate outcome of how will that drive success for your customer. Focus that in and choose value over volume, right? And really think about the partners that are going to be able to really extend this for you and for your customers, and that you can really build that foundation with effectively. I've seen that, that's a lesson learned for me in the past. And so coming here, it's been really about how can we really focus on those key partnerships that are going to really drive success for our customers, and what they're trying to do as they accelerate sales through the cloud marketplaces in particular, right? And I love, what you said about trust. I think partnerships, of course, live and die off of trust. And so, Cass, I'd be really keen to get your perspective here on, some of the elements that you feel really create and continuously reinforce trust between partners, and what are some of the best practices as you're building that foundation of trust with your ecosystem.
Well, I think the quickest way to build trust, right, if you're coming in and you're trying to partner with maybe a larger partner, revenue, if you're referring deals, if you're working together, if you're bringing in business, you're going to get to trust pretty quickly. But like Christine says, right, larger company, you have all these programs, you have incentives, and all of a sudden you change the incentives and their compensation changes, that's when you can kill trust. So trust is very easy to lose. But I think you continue on this path of really driving revenue with and for your partner, like you're going to get to trust fast and you're going to elevate. We have a customer that was partnered with ADP, and they were like, we are not the top partner in our industry, and we want to be the top partner. We want all those reps over there knowing our name, not our competitors' names. And what they did was they shared a lot of their customers over to ADP, showing them, hey, any of these accounts, we have the best relationships and we want to get you in. So let your sellers know, and connected with them. 1 year later, that company was the number one LMS partner. So it really comes down to the revenue, and yeah, if you're trying to partner with a larger company, really connecting and doing what you can to accelerate revenue with them.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like a give to grow type mentality right there.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah.
And given that partnerships are really this infinite game, I know, Amy, from your perspective, especially given Salesforce has such a large partner ecosystem and the work that you do with partners and how the relationships evolve, how are you and your team evaluating partnerships? How do you evolve your partner programs and your approach to partnerships as time goes on? And particularly to Cass's point, around trust as well, what are some of the key areas that you focus on as you evaluate how successful a partnership is and how you can get it to a successful point?
Yeah. So that's a big question. Some very simple things that I talk to all my partners about, and I manage about 300, including Cassandra's companies in my territory. Nice. So when I sit down and have like a QBR or even just a chat with someone about how I think about, especially new products or coming to market, whether you're new or just launching a new product, everyone says it, but it's crawl, walk, run. And we've kind of all been dancing around it, but you don't want to boil the ocean right away. You want to find value. So it's really being thoughtful about where are we starting, what matters right now. So right now in this moment, the CEO really is the CFO at most companies. So you need to change your messaging and thinking about your markets as it relates to saving money, saving time, creating more value, right? In that regard, cost reduction, ROI. And so that's what we're thinking about, is if we're doing something new or we're going after a new market, how do we make sure that we're super targeted? And when you think about, and I love the story about ADP, Cassandra, because we're that big company that has a lot of customers, and we also have 6,000 or so partners or partner apps, so they want the attention of our AEs, but it does need to be a give and a take. So coming with a point of view, coming with a reason why a partner can solve a problem for a customer, and it's unique and it's important and it's relevant, like having that story and having those assets and really kind of doing that prep work so that and then we will help, like my team, that's what we do, is we actually help with the targeting of who we should be talking to about a given solution or a given, partner. But that's what we're looking for. And so what that means is we have people on the partner side of the business, and Cassandra does this very well, that can respond to that and say, all right, we'll build the asset or the demo, and we have the people ready to catch the ball when you throw it, and vice versa. So it's pretty simple stuff, but it takes manpower and it takes some focus. And so again, if partnering isn't your focus, then it's hard to get the momentum going with any company, but especially large companies like Salesforce. So I don't know if that was part of your question.
Yeah.
Did I?
No, that's great. And I think the only follow on would just be around, as you evolve partnerships with companies like PartnerTAP, and as you're looking to kind of continuously elevate the partnership, or if something's not working, how do you approach that? What's your strategy to keep your ecosystem thriving?
Yeah, I mean, so the company is constantly evolving. So is the market. So that is a big part of what we do, is trying to meet partners where they are and put together real KPIs, which my team is paid on the revenue that partners pay Salesforce. So we're all driven by the same goal, which is let's go grow the revenue. But it really does have to be a give and a take. Like how are we going to attack this year, this quarter? What's our plan? And so, for example, my teams just presented their QBRs for Q1, Q2, and the rest of the year, so that we have a plan now for how we're going to be successful. But as things change, we have to be willing to change with them. For example, our platform is evolving. I mean, now we've got all this ChatGPT, and AI is that's everywhere. How are we helping our partners through this next evolution? Or, the data is very top of mind, and now we have a data cloud. How are we bringing partners along with us? So that's Salesforce's job, to figure out how to help our partners continue to evolve. So that's what we're thinking about, like in our executive meetings, and as leaders, we're trying to figure out how we help our ecosystem and the partners that have bet on us and our platform to evolve in this new normal. And that's every year. So that's ever changing. And that's also really an interesting part of the job, obviously. But that's the answer there.
I love that. It's partnerships is never boring. That's for sure. There's always change and evolution. And we did have a quick question come in, Amy, that was targeted for you in the chat around the partner ecosystem beginnings within AppExchange. And I think the question's getting at, was it a corporate objective to really drive this growth through AppExchange and the AppExchange itself, or was it more organic and kind of grassroots? What was the momentum, and how did that really come to fruition?
So initially, and again, I was an AE at the time, so I was not sitting at the boardroom table, and I have no idea how AppExchange really initially launched. But as a salesperson, really it was meant to allow us to open up our documented APIs, which was kind of unheard of back then, and just allow companies to build against our platform so that we could create more value. Because, like I said, we didn't really even have a service cloud at that point. So we were competing against Siebel, who had a very robust CRM. And so we were kind of like the upstarty, kind of trying to go into these big accounts, like an ADP or, Adele. And so by having partners help us by integrating into our platform, we were able to be more competitive. Now, skip ahead to like 2010. That was when we actually hired somebody from Oracle, a gentleman by the name of Ron Huddleston, who had run their ecosystem. And he came and really evolved the entire program and built it out to what it is today with our P&R model and really our OEM and ISV, the two programs that we leverage to help partners build on our platform and go to market on the AppExchange, really started in 2010. And that was very deliberate. And it took a lot of heavy lifting, because really, if you look back at the history of platform and OEM and ecosystems, like no one had really done it in the cloud before. So we were kind of making it up as we went in terms of writing contracts, OEMing a SaaS platform. It had never been done. So we were kind of making it up as we went, but there was very senior buy-in across the org to do it, or it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
We were really starting from nothing. So we didn't have any rev share partners at that time. So from 2010 until now, that's really how, really when we started building the ecosystem.
Yeah. It's amazing to see what you've built and what it's evolved into as well. And I love the notion too of kind of getting into some specific examples. So, Cass, given where PartnerTAP sits and just everything that you observe in terms of the work you do with companies on ecosystem-led growth, what are some of the ways, and maybe some examples, even just high level, of the ways you're seeing software companies really leverage their existing ecosystems to drive customer growth and customer success?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is companies are doubling down on top partners. I think somebody talked about, recruiting, is it about recruiting as many partners as possible? At some point at scale, you're going there, but in the beginning, you really have to find the ones that you're going to really focus and double down with. And even at scale, who are we going to really focus with? Because we're already driving revenue here with these partners. How can we do more? And so, yeah, our customers are really going, okay, look, we have a giant customer base. We do not have enough direct reps to renew these accounts. How can we work with our ecosystem and partners that already have relationships to go and just save our customer base, retain our customer base? Or, how are we going to go find net new logos in this environment? Like, we really need to know with our best partners that trust us, where we are driving significant revenue, where can we go do more? And then I think Christine brought up the point of, the lifetime value. We got to get as many partners as possible around our customers, so we really keep those customers for life.
I just add a quick thing to that. I mean, there's so many reasons to go with that small set of the partners that are going to be the most important for you, and also because maybe to keep your to grab that footprint with them, to grab that relationship with them before your competitor does. You might be able to establish an actual barrier to entry for one of your competitors, because partners out there can only manage so many vendor relationships, right? I mean, they're going to pick a partner. They're going to feel, comfortable with them. They're going to have gone through that enablement, maybe even certification, learn how to use the tools. They've got some of their buddies, now on the inside that they've done some co-sell deals together with, right? So, those then become celebrations for success. They also become success stories, customer success stories, and partner success stories, right? That you can go replicate. You can go show the other salespeople, look what Mary did over here with this partner. Here's how she did it. You could replicate that with yours. So there's a million reasons why to get those first correct partners really established and running hard with you early on.
That's a great perspective. Yeah, I completely agree with you and Christine. And it is interesting to see how you can really leverage and optimize your ecosystem strategy, to your point, to better position yourself against maybe competitors in the space. We had an interesting question come in as well in the chat. I see early stage software companies that want a partner ecosystem that sells and that implements, but they wait to start the post-sales enablement until it has become a crisis. They have no metrics to determine when they should start. Do you have any thoughts on this? So I think this is more around enablement with your partner ecosystem and when you can be a little bit more proactive versus reactive. I hope I understand that right, Arthur, but that's how I read that question.
Enablement starts early, folks, right? I mean, enablement to me is probably the most critical thing, right? Because you are, and I always say, if you're serious about this and your partners are your extended sales team, they should get all of the tools that you give your own sales organization. And people that I see successful at that are people like Cisco and VMware. I mean, I can name a ton of companies that they give them the same use cases, they give them the same sales stories, they give them the same, you name it. If there's a sales play that goes out on a certain solution, they know about it early. Their marketing teams know about all of that early. So you're enabling your extended sales force and get them enabled early and often,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cass, Amy, any thoughts on that or anything to add?
I mean, I do. Sorry, did I interrupt you, Cassandra?
No, go ahead, Amy. Go ahead.
I mean, for me, enablement is everything, because I work with, like I said, about 300 partners, and I'm kind of doing the opposite, where we're trying to enable our internal teams on how to understand or care or create value around the partner. So it goes both ways. And especially once the deal is done, because that's when the wheels come off the bus. And back to trust, it's our number one tenet. It's what makes partnerships work. So if we're not setting up these customers to be successful, and we've brought you in and it goes poorly, that is, it's like a knitting circle with the account teams, right? And suddenly it's like, oh, that partner doesn't, I got a red account out of that. So you really have to be thoughtful. And that's why crawl, walk, run, like pick your segment, pick your type of customer, and then do all the work from soup to nuts so that you're ready and everyone's enabled before you start selling, because then, you end up with red accounts.
100%.
And this is where in the beginning, it's fewer partners, right? Because that enablement piece, 5 partners to one person is a lot. So that is also something to think about. If these partners are an extension of your business and are going to be your implementation partners, I mean, they're touching your customer. They're the ones that are going to make this customer sticky. You do not want to be on the recruit of, I'm going to get 50 partners right now. It's fewer. And if your team is lean, I mean, maybe you go with 2, because that's all you can manage to actually enable. I mean, I know that your team, Amy, is huge with the amount of partner account managers your team has, right?
Mm-hmm.
To those 300. So
yeah, I mean, I have 30 people.
It's a big head count, right?
Yeah, it's big, but I have some onboarding on my team too. So yeah, 30 or so people, and a lot of them are go to market and managing the partners. So, yeah.
Some of them, some companies are doing kind of a division of labor on engagement where, you have some of the standard partner account manager, channel account manager, whatever you call your folks, doing a lot of that work on their orders and the, kind of the standard, more administrative things, making sure that they're taking their enablement, then having, a more diverse field that has to cover more partners in the field that are like partner success managers that are helping them understand that scaling of customer success process. And I've seen that to be really good. Again, if they're well enabled and if they have really well-known, playbooks and rules of engagement that are established. Otherwise, once again, you can screw it up.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, I know we only have a couple minutes left here, so I think we're going to start to wrap up so the other session can get started on time. Cass, Amy, Christine, thank you all so much for joining me for this conversation. I absolutely loved it. I feel like I learned from it. And I will be jumping over to the table. And I think, Christine, I know you were going to potentially jump over as well, and anyone else who can join. So if you have any follow-up questions and you want to dig in, please come join the table. We'll be there ready to chat. But this was wonderful. Thank you so much, you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot. Bye.